Hi, I'm Marinus and this is my wife Inge. This is our lovely daughter Amelie. This is the story of Amelie and her cleft lip and palate.
Okay, so we plan on falling pregnant with Amelie, and initially I knew the news that we were pregnant, and I actually took Marinus for a photo shoot, and the photographer then made me expose that we are pregnant via showing a little message on a Orky.
Blackboard.
On the blackboard. And yes, he actually knew. He tried to keep it a secret that he knew, but he did know. And yes, the fun began. And during the 20-week scan, we found out that Amelie has got a unilateral cleft lip and palate. And yes, initially we were quite shocked, as anyone would be. We didn't expect anything will go wrong having a healthy pregnancy up to 20 weeks. And we were glad that we knew, because we could prepare lots and lots more than having to know on the day of her birth. We always said, as long as she's healthy, we don't actually mind whichever birthing plan we are going for. The moment we knew about the cleft, we also heard, and through reading up on everything, we saw that she will go to the NICU, and therefore we wanted to go the normal route, just to be more mobile after the birth. The rest of the pregnancy went fine. It was quite daunting to go for scans post the 20-week scan, because we just
Didn't know what to expect.
we had such a big shock at the 20-week scan that every other scan after that was quite daunting. And luckily and thankfully nothing else went wrong. At 38.4 weeks, she was born via C-section. It wasn't an emergency C-section at all. I did had an induction, and it failed, so she was born via C-section. And then she went to the NICU straight after that. So it was tough, to be honest. I think I could, we had her for 5 minutes in the theatre. And then the pediatrician said, no, she must go to the NICU now. And it felt like I just met her and now she's gone already. And you had to leave with her as well. So I ended up staying alone in the recovery room, just thinking about what happened to us. And then, yes, it was tough to actually go to the NICU every day for a whole week. And in between the NICU visits, I had to express as well, to give her breast milk. And that in itself was also quite difficult. And yes, some moments I just wish that she was with me in the hospital room, just close by. I didn't know whether she was happy or sad or hungry or in the NICU, but I knew that lovely nursing staff and other members looked after, and we were grateful for awesome service. To be honest, I was quite blunted. I didn't know what to expect, and I think you expect the worst, but you don't know what's the worst. You don't know what is your worst, or what do you expect is the worst for you. And I'm just
Mooi.
I felt blunted. Just happy that she's born now and that our reality can start now. All the months of prepping and thinking about it and reading up on it and discussing what life will be, just firstly with a baby, and now a baby with a special circumstance.
But it was scary seeing her for the first time. before having the birth, we looked at a lot of pictures on the internet. We were scared of what to expect. There's a lot of scary pictures on the internet. And going to the sonos, we weren't able to see to what extent she had a cleft lip and palate. So it was scary seeing her for the first time, but special at the same time. And then getting to know her in ICU was good as well. It was difficult. We stayed up for long hours. Being between ICU and the ward where Inge was staying, there was a lot of walking up and down between the different rooms. But the staff was helpful, and we were well taken care of. So yeah, it all went well.
Yeah, I just remembered when I held her for the first time that she had 2 eyes, and some of the cleft pictures that you see on the internet, they are quite hectic, like you explained. So we were just glad that all the other body parts were there and intact, and that she's still perfect. When we went for the first few scans, we had to explain whether we have any family history of illnesses and such, and I didn't actually remember that my cousin had a complete cleft lip and palate, and we didn't disclose the information purely because of forgetting that he had it. And then at the 20-week scan, when the doctor discovered the cleft lip and palate, she again asked us whether we have any family members who's got a cleft lip and palate, and then it struck me that yes, we do have a family history and some genetic components probably explaining why it happened.
So in ICU, the nurses would assist you with nasal feeding or tube feeding. So they would put a little tube through her nose into her stomach, and then use a syringe to inject milk into her stomach to assist in feeding. It is daunting and scary seeing that happening for the first time, but the baby is fine and I don't even know what's happening. So it is stressful, but the baby doesn't even know what's going on. They also teach you everything you need to know about taking care of your baby in ICU. And then after 3 days, depending from case to case, but in our case, after 3 days, we took her out of ICU and we went to see a specialist where they made a feeding plate for her. So we were checked out of ICU. That's scary as well. You're supposed to sign a bunch of declaration forms saying that you know of the risks, get into your car and drive to a specialist, knowing that you don't know anything about how to feed them through the tube, or not being sure about anything. Driving to a specialist and then sitting there for a few hours while they make the feeding plate for you. The whole process of making a feeding plate is very scary because they take some molding materials and then they put it inside your baby's mouth and let it sit there for, I don't know, it felt like a lifetime, but it's probably only like 30 seconds to mold it. And yeah, it is scary because they struggle to breathe and they scream and they cry, but it actually went by quickly. It didn't feel like that, and then afterwards it's worthwhile because the plate helps them to feed and being able to drink with a bottle. So stressful, but it's helpful.
At 20 weeks, when we found out about the cleft lip and palate, the doctor said that it's highly unlikely that she will be able to breastfeed. And then at 20 weeks you don't actually start to think about breastfeeding your baby, and that moment the choice was taken away from you in a certain way. So the day she was born, the nursing staff members did come to see whether she can breastfeed, and for me that was difficult because I set my mind on that she's not going to breastfeed. So I think I just immediately halted this process to say that no, I'm not ready for this, because I actually told myself for the last 4 months that she won't breastfeed, and then just to disappoint or to be disappointed if it doesn't work out, I wasn't ready for that, for another letback or setback. So that's why we did go the option, or did go through the whole feeding plate option, seeing the specialist for her to actually drink with a bottle. So what helped was, I think 2 weeks before she was born, The doctor told me to hand express milk colostrum to stock it in the freezer for when the baby is born, because then that day when they are trying to figure out how the cleft lip baby can feed, they can start giving colostrum so long, that's from your body, and then there's a little bit less stress and rush to actually give the baby proper food the day he or she is born. So she was admitted to the NICU for 7 days, and she's monitored through monitors, and taking the baby off the monitors, and if it's your first baby, is quite daunting, because now you have no idea whether she's actually okay, or suddenly there's no machines beeping anymore and you're unsure whether she's warm enough, whether her heart rate is okay. So it was scary to take her home, and also she struggled to feed in the beginning. She fell asleep during her bottles. So taking her home, now you have to take full responsibility for all the feeds, and you just didn't want to disappoint yourself or let your baby down, to make sure that she gets enough nutrition. So that was scary, but luckily we are two, so we could alternate feedings with the bottle day and night.
What also helped is before she was born, we went to see some specialists and nurses who's been working with these babies for many years, and they could advise us on different types of bottles to use, different types of equipment that we can use to assist us. So we did some research, we bought a few different types of bottles, and luckily for us, she took well on one of the bottles that we had and worked well. It is a bit more work using those bottles, but it's not too bad. It has an extra valve and takes a bit longer to clean. But other than that, the bottle is almost just a normal bottle.
Yeah, and it helped us that we could attempt with all the bottles in the NICU, because there's always someone to assist you and to make sure that you and baby is doing okay. And if she didn't manage with the bottle, they could still give the rest of the feed through the nasogastric tube, so that assisted us quite well. But yes, before she could go home, they had to remove the nasogastric tube, so all the other milk had to go through her mouth. She had to drink it by herself, so that was quite stressful in the beginning, just to make sure that she's drinking enough. So she went home with us, and straight after that we had follow-up appointments with the specialist, the orthodontist, once a month, to check the feeding plate and to make sure it still fits and it's not causing any damage or bruising inside the mouth, and that she's still able to drink with the feeding plate. At 7 weeks, she received a NAM plate, nasoalveolar molding plate.
Okay, so the function of the NAM plate is to assist the baby drinking. Firstly, the bottle will press against the plate inside the palate to assist with drinking. Secondly, the plate also has a stent going into the baby's nose that will form and lift the baby's nose. Most babies with cleft lips have a sort of a flat nose, because the cleft pulls it downwards and the stent forms it in the right form. This results in having a narrower cleft and pulling together the gums that would make the operation easier for the doctor, having to do less reconstructive work. So
yes, the NAM plate has got a lot of work daily, and it's not always nice to replace the stickers and to clean the mouth, and the babies cry and you feel sorry for doing it, but you have to pull through and stick to the plan, because in the end you'll get better results. It is expensive buying all the strips and plasters, and yes, every day you have to replace them, and it wasn't always nice, and you really did feel bad sometimes for almost intentionally hurting, but with the intention of assisting the facial features for later.
So the videos that we received from the doctor and the nurses on YouTube showing us how to put a nameplate in was scary. The baby screamed and cried a lot. We were very scared of doing it, and we found that putting the plate in just before the baby falls asleep or almost falling asleep helped a lot. We didn't bother at all putting it in at that stage. Trying to do it while she's awake was frustrating for her, and she did cry a lot then, but doing it just before she falls asleep helps a lot. Also, with regards to buying the stickers and all of that, it helped going to a hospital pharmacy and seeing whether you could buy it in bulk. Going to a normal pharmacy is more expensive than buying in bulk at hospital, so that helped us a lot.
And now you have her face full of plasters and a nasal stent, and now you go to the shopping centre and people stare and they look at all the plasters and they think this baby actually had an operation already, or she got badly hurt or something. So now you have to answer a lot of questions about the NAM as well, and one doesn't always feel like it. And sometimes you just want to get your milk and bread, and you end up spending half an hour more at the shop just to explain what they are seeing in front of you. It's purely to actually prepare this child for going to theatre. So that was difficult for me. Maybe you didn't always experience that because I need to do the shopping. Yeah, so that was tough. And I think the most difficult part is I also don't know what the end result will be. So we are trying our very best to give her the best options, but we don't know whether this will succeed or whether it will actually make a difference. So we were kind of also unsure, yeah. But we knew that we had to do something to facilitate and to make sure that we give her the best option or the best chance. At 5 months, she received her first operation, and 2 weeks before the first operation, you must remove the nameplate and then teach her to drink from a sippy cup or another feeding method, because she's not allowed to suck from a bottle post-operatively for at least 3 weeks. So we had to exercise and practice with her to drink milk.
And also to find a type of cup or spoon that would work with her.
Yeah.
So we ended up using a newbie spoon.
Newbie spoon feeder, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the first operation was about 3.5 hours long. It was a very long time to sit and wait for your baby to come out of theatre. Before the operation, we were allowed to go into the theatre entry room. Inge was then allowed to go into the actual theatre with her as well until she was
fully under anesthetics.
Anesthetics, yes. Waiting for about 3 hours is a very long time. Being scared, not knowing how it's going, sitting there patiently. So make sure you have some magazines to read or family members or friends to talk to while sitting there and wait. Coming out of the operation was very stressful as well. We could hear her cry all the way from the theatre side. It was a rush from the theatre to the room where she was staying. She was crying a lot, screaming. It is a bit bloody in her face. Her arms are splintered to be kept straight. Her voice sounds different. And she did cry for long. She cried for about an hour or an hour and a half maybe. So that was quite stressful. The first few hours after the operation was not fun at all.
Yeah, and mentally, she went for something or some intervention, but you can't physically see that she went for something. So that in itself is difficult because you know that the doctor operated inside the mouth, but you actually can't see anything different. And that was, you are going through all of the stress and the worry and the recovery, and yet you can't see that something's different. And we could only experience the difference the day she came back home and got discharged from the hospital after 6 days. When she had to actually start drinking by herself again, but using the newbie spoon feeder and not actually drinking from a bottle. And she had a much stronger swallow. She had less spillage of milk. Her reflux was instantly better, and we experienced just positivity the day she came home after the first operation. We ended up going on holiday as well. She recovered so well and so nicely that we ended up going on holiday and just to take some time from the city and relax a little bit. With the first operation, the doctor closed the soft palate and also 50% of the hard palate.
So in the hospital, we had a room for ourselves. It was a it was a private room with a bed for Amelie and a second bed for either myself or Inge. So one of the parents need to stay with her for the full week after the operation. We stayed in hospital for 7 days. The hospital staff were very helpful. She again had a nasal tube for feeding for that full week. Her arms were splintered, or it was kept straight to prevent her from touching her face and for pulling out her nasal tube or for touching her mouth. After the operation, you need to be extremely careful not touching the mouth and getting any bacteria or similar type of stuff inside her mouth. So you get special cloths and wipes to clean her face. Inside the hospital, it was tough for the first while. She did not want to go to sleep. She was used to sucking her thumb, and then after the operation was not allowed to suck thumb anymore.
And also she's not allowed to use a dummy. She can't have anything near her mouth. So to keep her calm and collected without having her hands as comfort was quite difficult.
So make sure you take enough toys along to the hospital, yes, and colourful stuff to decorate the room, to keep her attention away from her mouth and the discomfort.
Yes, so follow-up after the first operation is about 2 weeks post-discharge from the hospital, and then the doctor checks for infection and also to make sure that no holes or fistulas formed inside the mouth, and whether everything went as planned. And he was happy with her recovery and she did well, and then after the green light she could continue using her cleft feeder bottle. Yes, and she instantly took it, was very happy, could drink, had a stronger suck on the bottle, and she ate food again after that, and it just went well after the first operation. So a month before the operation, the first one and the second one, she was in isolation at home mostly, and she was allowed to go to the grandparents' homes, and that's it. She wasn't allowed to go to any mall or shopping center, just to keep her safely away from any outside germs and bugs, to keep her as healthy as possible for all the operations, which means that she had to be isolated in total for 4 months, where she couldn't go to any other events, couldn't go to birthday parties, couldn't go to any weddings or ceremonies. So that was tough on us and on her, and people didn't see her as often as we would wanted her to go with to family functions and things. But we knew we had to do this to keep her as healthy and clean as possible for the operations. So the second operation is about 8 weeks after the first operation. So she was about 7 months of age when she had the second operation. Once again, she had to be in isolation a month before the operation. And with the second operation, the doctor closed the rest of the hard palate, and also he closed the lip and did some plastic surgery on the nose.
So the second operation was again a long operation. It was 2.5 hours. Amelie's operation was actually 3 hours. We expected it to be 2.5 hours. Ended up being 3 hours. I think the process went much smoother because we knew what to expect. Similar process as the first operation, going into the theatre room, prepping before the operation was all similar, but coming out of the theatre was much easier this time. Probably because we knew what to expect and how she was going to react. She did recover quicker and easier than the first one as well. did not cry as much and as long as she did. She slept better. I think she just handled the second operation better than she did the first one.
But yes, we weren't ready to say goodbye to this little face with the cleft. And I think that was the biggest challenge of the second operation, is that we actually accepted everything how it was. I actually told Marinus that I'm fine with how everything's going now after the first operation. Do we actually have to do the second operation? Knowing that we have to, it still felt like we are rejecting the face that she's got. And functionally, she did so well after the first one. But we had to do the second operation because we knew functionally it isn't all well. She needs a closed palate and lip for speech and to eat food and just to have a normal social life. She needs the second operation. But it was difficult. It was difficult to to actually prepare for a new face that you have no idea what it will look like. And other people's opinions about it. Still up to this day, it's hard for me when people say, sure, she looks so much better now, or they would compare the two faces with each other, or they will say, oh, now we can almost forget about the past 8 months, and one can never forget about this and just put it behind you. And we don't want to, because we are proud of the journey and the path that we've walked with her, and it will always be her history and her life, so we don't want to take this away from her, and we will always tell her about it and show her pictures and show other people pictures. So the second operation was much more emotional than the first one. Like I mentioned previously, with the first operation you can't physically see the difference, but with the second operation everything looks different, and yet you expect something different, but you still want the old different. But we are getting used to the new face and the new ways, how she's smiling and eating and drinking her bottle. But yes, we are just glad that it all went well, and that it went as planned. But it definitely is much more difficult than one would anticipate. And also, nowadays, if people tell me that it's just something fixable, I want to tell them to live the life that we've lived the past 8 months. It's not just something that you fix. It's a big process, and there's so much more behind the scenes and so much more that's happening behind the scenes for her to just go for that operation or two. So we are just glad that we had each other and lovely support systems, lovely people, and people cooked dinner for us. They took us out to just have a night out and took care, or looked after Amelie. So it was nice to feel all the love from outside. She's now about 4 weeks after the second operation, and we've just started using the nasal elevator again. It's supposed to support the plastic surgery that's been done to the nose, just to keep the structure of the nose upright. Because of the healing process, the nose tends to pull down a little bit after the operation for about 6 months. So the elevator just keeps the nose in place, and she's supposed to wear it until about a year of age. And she's trying to put it off now and again, but we just put it on because you have to stick with the plan. So the next intervention will only be around 9 years of age, where a piece of bone from the hip is taken and placed in the gum line, because there's still a gap in the gums. We are at this stage unsure whether she's got any teeth in that space. For now, it's not important to know that. We'll see if it develops or not. And then at 16 years of age, she's supposed to go for a nose reconstruction surgery as well. And then, yeah, the rest of the road will probably be speech therapy and making sure that she's eating and drinking adequately without any difficulties in the palate. And yeah, we are unsure with regards to the speech now, but like I said, she will have to go for speech therapy from age 2.5 onwards.
Okay, so the past 8 months has been tough on us as husband and wife. It is stressful. It is countless of sleepless nights. It is a lot of work, a lot of stuff to do. It has brought us closer together. It has caused a lot of tension as well, arguments and tension, but that's mostly due to not sleeping, I think. But it has brought us together. We've had a great support system, our family and friends, and as husband and wife. We've been there for each other, and we've been brought closer together. And it has been it has been a good experience. Even though it's been difficult, we're just grateful for where we are, and with our miracle baby, we are grateful for everything that we have and for what we've been through.
Yeah, one doesn't always know where this path will take you, or why you've been placed on this path in the first place. But just looking back, yeah, I can't think of a day that he hasn't been with me, whether it's been messaging me or thinking or telling that he's thinking about us and supporting us. Yeah, it definitely brought us closer. Yeah, like you said, there's definitely been days where it was more difficult than other days, but in the greater scheme of things, it taught us to look at the bigger picture, yeah, and to stay calm and connected, and yes, to go back onto your knees and be grateful for all the little blessings, because although this seems like a big thing, there are lots of other bigger blessings that overshadows this less blessing, if I can say it like that. Yeah, otherwise, you know, I can't think of another person to walk this journey with. And we've been really blessed with a otherwise healthy and fun, loving baby. She's probably our biggest gift ever, besides having each other. Advice for other parents is, it was difficult to think about the bigger picture and to look past difficult months, but it definitely helps to think about life after this, and it was definitely worth it to keep fighting for her and to never give up and to give her the best options where possible. Yes, for myself, if I walk into someone who's having a difficult day or having a child with a deformity or a special needs child, to not comfort them with the seemingly good news on the outside, but rather to say that we pray for them, or that we'll think about them, or just good luck with your journey, with whatever difficulties you may face today or this week, instead of trying to fix them with words. For us, that was hard, to stay calm and collected and have that smile on your face when people say that soon this will just be over, and it will just not be part of you anymore. And I think this is, it's just so part of us. We will never forget this, but we never want to forget this, and we want her to have the scar on her face to tell the world about her journey and the path that she's walked. So it's okay if she's not perfect in the world's eyes, but for us, she tells a journey and a story just by showing her face to the world. Through this whole journey that brought us closer towards each other, we also came a lot more closer to God and our faith. Although it tests you in many ways, sure, He placed us in this position for a reason, and although we are not yet sure why, we definitely feel much more empowered and to give other people more hope. And we just want to thank him, firstly, for having Amelie, because she's such a big gift to us. But we also want to say thank you to all the people in our life who kept us strong and kept us fed, and that were just there for us and making sure that we are surviving and thriving. And you cannot do this on your own. You need a whole community. It takes a village.
Dit is regtig 'n groot ding wat julle aanpak en ek in elk geval waardeer dit net so baie. As mens terugkyk na die laaste paar maande, dan dink mens, maar eintlik is alles oukei en is dit nou erg, is dit nie erg nie. En eintlik distansieer mens self van potensiële seer kry. En ek dink dis lekker as mense soos julle dit kom saamvat vir ons en die geleentheid gee om wel die seer kry te ontbloot en die moeiliker tye ook te kan herken, want mense doen dit nie.